Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be making a couple of stools made out of wenge and wrapped with a Danish cord seat. So let's get into it. To start the build, I'm going to grab my templates and just kind of double check the dimensions from an existing stool that I have, just to kind of get reacquainted with everything. I got to the templates by drawing the stool full size and then transferring the drawings to some masonite and then kind of created my templates that way. And I'll use that to lay everything out. So to start everything off, after I've roughly laid everything out, I'm gonna buck my my board up into smaller manageable pieces and start milling it down from there. Generally, you know, I'm not trying to use my gloves when I'm using machines, but wenge, if you ever use wenge before, man, this stuff will get splinters all over your hands, and I'm not trying to pick splinters out for the next couple weeks. After everything's milled down and squared up, I'm going to head to my bandsaw and start milling it down further. I'm ripping the legs right now, and I like doing this on the bandsaw because it really maximizes the amount of material I can use, just because it's got that thin curve, you know, really minimal waste. So with my components kind of roughed out, now I can use my templates and trace over them, and then I'll take it back to the bandsaw and not cut at my line, but just off my line so that I can go to the router and complete the next process. That sucked. I'll generally make a couple extra pieces in case that happens. That was frustrating. I was taking too much material off at once, and then I think my bit might have been a little dull too, so I actually ended up getting one of those kind of compression pattern bits, and the cutting length isn't as tall as the last one, but it seemed to do a pretty good job, so I was happy with it. So using jigs like this is kind of a technique I've started using over the past couple years. I enjoy it. You know, it allows me to make repetitive components exactly the same as the last one, and you know, I appreciate that. You know, it takes a lot of the guesswork out, and it makes the process go a little bit faster. Alright, so with that last cut right there, all my components are at final dimension. And I'm going to kind of mock everything up and just get an idea of what it's looking like. I'm actually using loose tenon joinery for this build, and we'll get into that next. So this is my machine that I make all my mortises on for the loose tenons. it's a pretty effective way to join everything. It's pretty easy, and it allows me to make everything final dimension without having to worry about, you know, oh shoot, I forgot that I have to have an extra inch because I need a tenon right there. With this technique, it's just cut everything to final dimension, you know, as you need it, and then connect everything with loose tenons. I'm actually doing double loose tenons on everything, so I actually use a shim technique. I put some shims on top of my stop and that raises up my router for the mortise without having to adjust my workpiece. It's just a little bit quicker and a little more precise. So for the tenons, I always try to make the tenons the same species as the wood that I'm using. So in this case, I'm making Wenge tenons. They're just cutoffs. And I also will thickness them down so that they're the thickness of the mortise. In this case, 1/4 inch. So they're 1/4 inch thick by however wide I decided to make the mortise. Since I used a router to make the mortises, I gotta round over the tenons, and so I just use an 1/8 inch bit. And then, you know, I like to mock it up just to kind of see how everything's fitting. Everything's fitting good. And then the last thing I need to do is shape the front and back rail. Give it a little bit of a curve so it's a little bit more comfortable for you to sit in. Man, this Wenge really gave me a tough time. Everything was blowing out, and so I had to do a climb cut right here to make sure that it wouldn't, you know, split out. Wenge's a little frustrating in that sense. It's pretty brittle, but you know, I like using it just because it, you know, it does take a really nice finish, and it, you know, it really looks good in the end. So it's definitely worth it in my opinion. So the top of the legs actually sit up above the seat just a little bit, you know, maybe 1/4 inch or so. And I like to round those over, make them really nice and supple to touch. And so I like to pillow the tops of them, and I just use my file and just kind of go over it like that. In the end, it produces a pretty nice result. And after that, I gave everything a 1/4 inch round over all the way around, and here's a nice little glamour shot, and I think we're pretty much good to go with the glue up. These chairs are actually glued up in 2 separate sessions. I make it a little bit easier doing it that way, and I'm also using Gorilla Glue. Over the years, I've kind of found that using Gorilla Glue for this glue up allows me to adjust the tenons around a little bit and shift stuff around in case I need to. It kind of lubricates those mortises a bit, whereas traditional wood glue will kind of just seize everything up, and once I put clamping pressure on there, if I need to move it around a bit, it's kind of difficult. So that Gorilla Glue really makes it easier. It's also a lot easier to kind of flush up my joints and, you know, start the process of finishing it while it's still in sections instead of one big, you know, stool. So I found, you know, doing it this way is just a lot easier. There is a caveat though with Gorilla Glue, you know, you can't use too much. And so if you use too much, man, that foam will just go all over the place. So I always try to kind of mask stuff off and protect my work while I'm using it. After the glue up, I flushed everything down, sanded everything down, and I want to start the process of finishing, and so I'll blow air to try and clear all the pores of the wood, then I'll wipe it down with mineral spirits, and then I'll actually apply the finish after that. And in this case, I'm using General Finishes Armor Seal. I like it, it's a no frills, you know, no fuss finish, And I don't put any finish on the rails though where I'm wrapping the Danish cord, because I need that wood to be bare so the cord has something to kind of grab onto. After a couple coats of finish, I'm ready to start laying out for the nails for the woven seat. I like to strike a line kind of below center, and then from there I'll lay out for the nails. I like to drill pilot holes for the nails too, and little quick tip, I like to use a dowel as a positive stop on my drill bits. I find it a lot easier than just using tape, which can shift around a bit. Those are pretty cool nails, huh? Alright, now we can start weaving. I really enjoy this process. It's kind of meditative. The only thing I don't like about it is that, you know, it kind of tears up your hands a bit. You know, it's paper cord, but, you know, over time you're running stuff around, you're running it over your hands. It kind of like starts to burn, and then after like a couple hours, I'm just over it. So I do it, I take my time with it. Man, that turned out nice though, right? I really enjoy the opportunity to make woven seats. I love making these stools, and you know, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Have a good one.